Okay, so I'm going to show you guys something. Can you see this? So this is a fossil of one of the first organisms in in the world to be found. And this is 400 million years old. And this has very interesting significance for us. You can see that this is a very specific design, very specific structure. It's called the Fibonacci sequence. You may have heard of the golden ratio. And this holds a key to everything we're doing and everything we want, in that this thing represents something that I have been obsessed with for a very long time, which in this case, as it relates to business, scaling and growing a business and doing it in a way that feels really good, feels easy. There's so much more joy and flow and spaciousness and free time. And the people who you serve really want what you've got, and they really appreciate you. To me, that is the core resonance point. And we all have that. So each of us has this one point of maximal resonance and efficiency. And at this point, who you are is perfectly aligned with what you do, which is perfectly aligned with how you talk about it and market it, which is perfectly aligned to your ideal people who really appreciate you, who value you, your uniqueness. And it's perfectly aligned also to how you deliver value. And this is the holy grail in business. When we find this, it's like we found a glitch in the matrix. It's like the ultimate cheat code. And everything in business to me is about locating it and then iteratively and over time making the micro adjustments to stay there. And if we can stay there, that's that macro flow. It's like surfing a wave, and you can surf that wave for decades. It doesn't have to be an experience that only lasts a few moments. Now, the thing that keeps most entrepreneurs from finding this glitch in the matrix, finding the resonance point, and then maximally exploiting it, just doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on it, is a series of addictions that entrepreneurs have. The main one is that entrepreneurs love to compensate for lack of clarity with more effort, because most entrepreneurs are conditioned to do more, perform, work hard, struggle, suffer. And most people, but particularly most entrepreneurs, have a much higher tolerance for pain than they do for pleasure. So as soon as they experience pleasure, spaciousness, ease, they find a way to inject more pain, struggle, suffering, effort into it. The way to find your resonance point is to test things, to iterate. So it's almost like there's a certain number of reps that you need to put in to test and iterate to find your resonance point. And that is in terms of messaging, in terms of the offer, in terms of what is that core thing that you're selling that people really want to buy? What is that core buying trigger? What is the window of time in your ideal client's life when buying your solution is the perfect thing for them? What are the words you use to describe what you do? How do you articulate and highlight the unique aspects of yourself? Because they don't just buy what you do, they also buy who you are. So when we have a ridiculous amount of clarity, when we perfectly, perfectly understand exactly what to say, how to say it in a way that makes people in the market who are perfect for what we're selling just go gaga and say, here's my card, take my money. That moment of cracking the safe is the most valuable thing that we can try to get closer and closer to. And that is basically just a higher level of clarity. So you have a certain amount of clarity about yourself, your products and solutions and offers, the language you use to describe it, the, you know, content or the words you string together to communicate it to the public about what this thing is that you've got that's really valuable for people. And there is a gap. There is a gap between how much you currently know about all these things and how much you can possibly know about these things, because there is a higher level of clarity where you literally know the exact words to type in an email. You know the exact words to put in an ad. You know the exact workshop that you use as your automated customer engine. You know exactly, um, what words to put in an offer doc in terms of highlighting benefits, that people see it and they're immediately like, yes, I'm in. Closing that gap is the most valuable thing you can do. And the only way we close that gap is with repetitions. The only way is that we take a hypothesis and we use that hypothesis to construct a message. We put the message out, we see what the response is, and then we use that feedback to either change it a little bit or change it a whole lot, and then we try again. And if we keep doing this, then we can iterate closer and closer and closer to the present, where we know exactly what to say to sell the thing and to deliver the thing. And the whole thing is being in a way that feels amazing for us. This is the most valuable thing we can get to. The thing that's keeping most people, some of you, and most people at large, most entrepreneurs, away from their resonance point and compensating for this lack of clarity with more effort, more this, more that, more team members, more ad spend, more, more programs and tiers and all this stuff, is a a limited goodness, tolerance for spaciousness. Like what happen? How do you feel when there's space in the calendar? Do you fill it with stuff? What do you do when money appears in your bank account? You spend it immediately? Like what tolerance for goodness? What is your tolerance for spaciousness? There's also other challenges psychologically, like perfectionism, overwhelm, fear, doubt. And the more you allow those things to drive what you do in the business, the longer it'll take you to find your resonance point. And you will tell yourself that you're too busy to do the few things that are actually going to get you there the fastest. Because the shortest path to your goals is also generally the most. So I'm going to share that thing and found and did a little bit of Photoshop. I found this absolutely hilarious. She just posted this in school. But what this will feel like is that you're too busy to do the one or two things that are actually going to get you there the fastest and most efficiently. It will feel like there isn't enough time or energy to do those things. But avoiding those things are actually that's what keeps people from actually getting there. So I wanted to share this just as a general frame to think through, that all we're trying to do is we're trying to find our unique personal resonance point. Because if you find that and you, through iteration, figure out exactly how to articulate your stuff in a way that makes people buy, everything just falls into place from there. The crazy thing is, and Ryan's chiming in with the perfect phrase, the mess becomes a mission. The way the universe is architected, every problem contains its own solution. The solution cannot exist outside the problem. As you're creating, misery becomes your ministry. Yeah, that sounds more like it. So as we try to crack the code, the temptation is going to be to look outside to see what's working for someone else and what other people in the industry are doing. But actually, the answer is inside. And that's usually the last place we look, because it's conditioned into all of us that the value and the solution, the fix, the power is outside.
Once I found you and then came into this program and starting going through all of it, it helped me to realize that a lot of how I even structured my program, like the price points and how I deliver it, was all geared toward keeping me busy. I wasn't aware of it when I was doing that, but I realize now, as I'm going through all of this, I was never going to scale it with that model without being more and more busy as I did it. So I'm very grateful to have found you and to be in this group.
Dude, that is such a huge, huge, huge realization because most people, most entrepreneurs, but people as well, never actually realize that. They don't realize that that's what's happening and that no matter what they do to try to be less busy, it never works because they free up a few hours and then they're busy again. And and when they try to solve it at a strategy level, it never works. So that, yeah,
One of the things that I felt like was the tipping point for me to like, all right, I gotta get in with this guy and work in this program was that I don't remember if it was the first one you talked about being able to get rid of sales calls and work 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, something like that, right? Well, a
yeah.
lot of people say things like that, like, "Oh yeah, we're going to free up the time and you'll be able to do that." But you went on a different angle than I've seen before, where you're like, "No, we actually," and I don't remember what training it was that I saw. It was something before I joined, but you said and I looked you up and was looking at a bunch of stuff before. But you said like we actually structure it for 4 hours, 4 days a week, or 5 days a week, or whatever you want to do. We structure that and we purposely don't work outside of that so that we optimize into that structure. I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, but it was something like that. And when I heard that, I was like, he gets it. Like I can follow this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again the harmonic, right? Because each of us have our own philosophy and principles. And when we lean into that, we attract the people who resonate with that. And just like that, you have your version of that. And when you really lean into that, you attract the people who perfectly resonate with who you are on every level. And there's no friction. Like you don't have to jump through hoops. You don't have to convince them. They get it. They're like, yes, you.